Hello, Namaskar. This is Firstpost and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma. Tonight we begin with the election that the world is talking about. And no, it's not Bihar, it is the mayoral election in New York. An Indian origin Muslim man has won. We'll tell you who he is. Who is Zohran Mamdani? What's the fuss really about? And why is his win being called a setback to Trump? In Russia, Vladimir Putin is making his nuclear gambit with back-to-back weapons tests. What's the message that he's trying to send? In the world of markets, $730 billion just got wiped out. Why are tech stocks bleeding? And why AI is looking up quite literally. They're planning to build data centers in space. Back home, they can't fix pollution. In the national capital, Delhi is choking again. In Iran, a protester is reportedly killed for burning a poster of Khamenei. It has triggered mass unrest. Also in focus, why Indian states are increasing direct cash transfers. Does the strategy work? Why Venezuela is asking its citizens to spy on each other. Why Palantir says college is no longer necessary. And why Japan has deployed the military to fight bears. All this and more lined up. The headlines first. Prime Minister Narendra Modi meets the Indian cricket team just days after they won the Cricket World Cup. Prime Minister Modi congratulated the team. He said their victory has brought immense pride to the nation. On Sunday, the Harmanpreet Kaur-led side defeated South Africa in the final to win their first ever World Cup title. Belgium investigates drone sightings which halted flights at several airports. Hundreds of passengers were left stranded. The government held an emergency meeting to discuss the disruptions. Recently, mysterious drone incidents have targeted several European countries. The US government shutdown enters its 36th day. This is the longest one in American history. It surpassed a record set during Donald Trump's first term in 2019. Public services have been brought to a halt. More than 1 million federal workers are either on enforced leave or working without pay. Bangladesh announces cash rewards to surrender weapons looted during last year's uprising. Around 6,000 firearms were stolen from police armories. The unrest toppled Sheikh Hasina's government. Dhaka hopes to collect these weapons ahead of next year's election. And the vice chairman of Tanzania's main opposition party is charged with terrorism. This comes just days after the post-election violence, which reportedly killed hundreds. The president won the 29th October poll, but the opposition says the election was a sham.
Is in our hands. My friends, we have toppled a political dynasty. Thank you to the elected officials. Since I know you're watching, I have 4 words for you. Turn the volume up.
Do you know who your mayor is? You may know the local lawmaker or chief minister, but a mayor, well, you have to be tuned in to know. But chances are, you know who the next mayor of New York will be. You may not live in New York, you may not even live in America, yet you would have heard his name. Zohran Mamdani. People on Indian social media are debating his win. Foreign governments are reacting to it, which makes you wonder what's the fuss all about. Short answer, it's all about the character involved. Let's look at the result first. Mamdani secured 50.4% of the votes in New York. His main challenger was Andrew Cuomo. Cuomo won 41.6% of the votes, and the Republican candidate won 7%. After the victory, Mamdani addressed his supporters. He declared a new era for New York. Plus, he had a message for US President Donald Trump.
Tonight, against all odds, we have grasped it. The future is in our hands. My friends, we have toppled a political dynasty. New York, tonight you have delivered a mandate for change, a mandate for a new kind of politics, a mandate for a city we can afford, and a mandate for a government that delivers exactly that. Standing before you, I think of the words of Jawaharlal Nehru. A moment comes but rarely in history when we step out from the old to the new, when an age ends and when the soul of a nation long suppressed finds utterance. Tonight we have stepped out from the old into the new. If anyone can show a nation betrayed by Donald Trump how to defeat him, it is the city that gave rise to him. And if there is any way to terrify a despot, it is by dismantling the very conditions that allowed him to accumulate power. So Donald Trump, since I know you're watching, I have 4 words for you. Turn the volume up.
Mamdani supporters were quick to celebrate. Watch parties turned into actual parties. Take a look.
I feel very good. I feel very hopeful about New York City's future. This was a campaign ran on hope, and I think all of us felt it tonight.
You know, it's really just like, it's so much change. We've had so much status quo for so long. It's just over and over the same kind of thing. It's just a nice breath of fresh air. It feels like a changing of the guard for real this time.
Some quick context. Zohran Mamdani was born in Uganda. His parents brought him to the United States at 7 years of age. Some of our Indian audience may know his mother, Meera Nair, the acclaimed director. Before entering politics, Mamdani dabbled in some rap. He worked as a housing councillor. And finally, he became an assemblyman, basically a city-level lawmaker. At 34 years of age, Mamdani was an obscure candidate. No one gave him a chance in the Democratic primary. All bets were on Andrew Cuomo, a Democratic heavyweight and former governor. But then came a social media blitz. Mamdani ran a grassroots-level campaign. He used Gen Z tactics to woo younger voters. And his message? Well, he promised change. He promised free bus rides, cheaper groceries and rent control. Basically, Mamdani positioned himself as anti-establishment, and clearly it worked. But why is the world obsessed with him? Why is this victory so divisive? Well, even US President Donald Trump has weighed in after the results. Look at his cryptic social media post. He said, "And so it begins." That too in all caps. What beginning is President Trump referring to? To understand that, you must look at 3 factors. Number 1, Mamdani is the first Muslim mayor of New York, and the symbolism itself is huge. This is a city that suffered the worst of Islamist terrorism in 2001. That's where Al-Qaeda attacked New York's Trade Center. More than 20 years later, a Muslim will lead this city. For some people, it's a sign of closure. For others, it reopens old wounds. Secondly, his ideology is controversial in the US. Mamdani calls himself a democratic socialist. And it's exactly what it sounds like. They prefer a democratic political system, but they do not like a free market capitalist economy. Rather, they would like some state control. Hence the term democratic socialism. President Trump has weaponized this characterization. He has called Mamdani a communist.
The only way you're going to beat the communists, because you have a communist running, which is fine. I'll have to deal with a communist in New York City. I never thought that was going to happen. This is something I didn't think was going to happen, Scott. You're going to have to explain this one, because we're going to have a communist mayor.
You can't ignore the irony here. New York is one of the biggest cities in the world. It has a GDP of $1.8 trillion. It is the poster child of capitalism, yet its new mayor is a democratic socialist. And this has triggered a lot of people. They say rich people will flee New York because of Mamdani's policies. Which brings us to the final factor, his foreign policy positions. Zoran Mamdani is a vocal critic of Israel. He has threatened to arrest Benjamin Netanyahu if he visits New York, the Israeli Prime Minister. Now, technically, this is not Mamdani's turf. Mayors should stay away from foreign policy. But Mamdani says he will arrest the Israeli Prime Minister. He's also come under fire for his radical activism. During the campaign, he appeared to defend a controversial slogan, globalize the Intifada. It's seen as an anti-Zionist slogan. It alludes to promoting violence against Israel. And this tendency is not limited to Israel. Mamdani has targeted India too. He opposed the building of a Ram temple in Ayodhya, and he specifically targeted Prime Minister Narendra Modi. During the campaign, he accused Prime Minister Modi of eradicating Gujarati Muslims. He called the Indian Prime Minister a war criminal. Now, do you see the problem here? Mamdani has a problem staying in his lane. He makes wild claims to satisfy his domestic vote bank and to bill himself as radical and progressive. Despite these controversies, he's won. He began as a long-shot candidate, but now he's being billed as Trump's biggest setback. Again, there are reasons why. Trump himself is from New York. He had tried desperately to blunt Mamdani's chances. He even endorsed his main rival, Andrew Cuomo. But it made no difference. Also, Mamdani was not the only winner yesterday. A number of elections were held across America yesterday, some for mayor, some for governor. It was Trump's first test after his re-election, almost exactly after a year. And the result? The Democrats swept everything. And Mamdani became the face of that performance. Many feel he could be a template to emulate, young, leftist and well-spoken. But can Mamdani mount a bigger challenge? Well, he was not born in the United States, so the White House is off the table. But his strategy may not work everywhere. New York is overwhelmingly liberal. It is also home to a young, media-savvy population. If this was a centrist small town, would Mamdani have won? Chances are no. So while Mamdani's victory is a setback to Trump, let's not get carried away. He's still unproven, untested, and controversial. And let's also not get carried away on the other side. Yes, Zoran Mamdani is a Muslim, but he's also pro-LGBTQ and he's progressive, so no, New York is not going to implement the Sharia law. At this point, it's a question of delivering. Mamdani talked big on the campaign trail. Whether he can walk the talk is the big question. Now let's turn to Russia, where President Vladimir Putin is turning up the heat. He's flexing his military muscle. In the last few days, Russia has unveiled 3 weapons, back to back, like they're on a deadline. First, Russia tested a cruise missile. It was powered by a nuclear reactor and designed to loiter in the air for days. The second test was an underwater weapon. It can trigger a tsunami at sea. And the third and the latest one is a new submarine. Russia unveiled it this week. Reports say the submarine is capable of launching a nuclear torpedo. And you know what these tests have in common? Each of these systems is nuclear capable. Russia is not just modernizing its arsenal, it is flexing it. And the idea is quite clear: to send a message to US President Donald Trump. In fact, look at their latest weapon. It's also their most lethal one. It is called the Khabarovsk. It's a new submarine. It is nuclear powered and it is equipped with a deadly weapon. This submarine can fire a nuclear torpedo, specifically the Poseidon. Russia recently tested this weapon too, the Poseidon. It's not a missile, it's an underwater drone. It is nuclear powered and nuclear armed. Experts are calling it a super weapon because it can travel at speeds of up to 100 knots. That's around 185 kilometers per hour underwater. The Poseidon is designed to evade all known defenses. And it does not explode on impact. It triggers something far more destructive. A radioactive tsunami, something that is powerful enough to devastate an entire coastline.
We conducted another test of yet another promising system, the Poseidon underwater unmanned vehicle, which is also equipped with a nuclear power unit. It is 100 times smaller than the nuclear reactor on a submarine, yet the power output of Poseidon significantly exceeds that of even our most advanced intercontinental range missile, Sarmat. There is nothing like Sarmat in the world. We have not deployed it yet, but it will be deployed soon. However, Poseidon significantly surpasses Sarmat in power.
Now, Russia has built and launched a submarine that is specifically designed for the Poseidon. This comes just days after another missile test, the Burevestnik. NATO members call it Skyfall. The name comes from a bird, the storm petrel. In Russian folklore, it is seen as a sign of an approaching storm. The missile had been under development for years. Russia tested it recently. Experts have described it, and I'm quoting, as a tiny flying Chernobyl. That's because it runs on nuclear power. It can fly for much longer than conventional missiles. The Kremlin says it can fly for days and even evade missile defense systems. Russia released a video after this test. It shows President Putin discussing the test with Russian generals.
How many thousands of kilometers did it cover?
14,000.
And how long did it stay airborne?
About 15 hours.
And that's not the limit.
No, it's not.
Valery Alexievich, we'll need to determine what this is and what class of weapon this new system belongs to. We need to determine its possible uses and begin preparing the infrastructure for deploying this weapon within our armed forces.
Roger that.
That message from Putin could have a deeper meaning. Observers say it's not just about the weapons, it's about signaling. Putin is sending a message to the West, specifically to the United States and their President Donald Trump. These tests can be linked to the dialogue on Ukraine and the breakdown of talks between the US and Russia. Remember, Trump and Putin were supposed to meet in Budapest in the first half of October. The meeting was supposed to be held to hash out a peace deal, but the Americans called it off. Apparently, Russia made some tough demands and the US found it unreasonable, so the talks were called off. Now, by conducting these weapons tests, Putin may be trying to push Trump back to the negotiating table, not from a position of weakness, but from a position of strength. Russia is reminding the world that it is a nuclear power and it wants its demands to be taken seriously, not just on Ukraine, but on other issues as well. Hence the back-to-back tests. So far, this plan has not worked. The US has responded sharply to Russia's tests. Trump has made a shocking move. He has ordered his Department of War to start nuclear testing of its own. Trump says other countries are testing nukes, so the US should do the same on a quote-unquote equal basis.
Are you talking about literally resuming underground nuclear detonation tests?
You'll find out very soon, but we're going to do some testing, yeah. Other countries do it. If they're going to do it, we're going to do it.
Okay, you can't clarify whether you'll resume.
I'm not going to say yet. I mean, I know exactly what we're doing, where we're doing it, but other countries are doing it, and if other countries do it, we do it.
For over 25 years now, no nuclear power has detonated a bomb. No country has tested nuclear bombs except for North Korea. But this could change. With Russia ramping up its arsenal and the US preparing to follow suit, these two countries have the world's biggest nuclear stockpiles. A nuclear race between them only means more bad news. For months, Silicon Valley felt like a casino. The roulette wheel here only landed on green. AI chips, AI models, AI anything. If it had intelligence in the name, the stocks went up. That was how it worked. But today, they hit a road bump. Big tech stocks plunged and they took down with them stock markets across the world. The Nasdaq dropped by more than 2%. Nvidia fell by nearly 4%. Palantir plunged almost 8%. Reddit was down by more than 8%. Amazon slid almost 2%. And over in Asia, it was a tech bloodbath. Japan's Nikkei fell 2.5%. The star of the show, SoftBank, tumbled 10%. It erased roughly $23 billion in market value. China's giants like Alibaba and Tencent sagged. Taiwanese chipmaker TSMC slid by nearly 3%. So overall, it was quite the plunge. $730 billion were wiped off in a day. $730 billion. Do you know what led to this? Well, the trigger was one man. His name is Michael Burry. You may have heard of him. He's the same guy who shorted the US housing market before the 2008 financial crash. He's even inspired a Hollywood movie. But now the same man is placing a bet against AI stocks rather. His hedge fund has bet $1.1 billion on a fall in prices for AI-related stocks, especially NVIDIA and Palantir. Basically, he is shorting AI stocks. What does that mean? What is shorting a stock? Imagine you borrow your friend's fancy iPhone. It costs around 1 lakh rupees. So you borrow this 1 lakh rupee phone and you sell it for 1 lakh rupees. And you're hoping that next month the hype will cool. It does cool and the price goes down to 60,000 rupees. Then you buy that same phone back at a lower price, at 60,000 rupees. You give it back to your friend, but you pocket the difference. So you make a profit of 40,000 rupees. That essentially is shorting. You don't own the thing, but you bet on its price falling. If the price drops, you win. If it shoots up instead, you lose money, sometimes a lot of money. This bet is called shorting. And right now, Michael Burry is shorting AI stocks. In fact, he's doubling down on his bet. He even posted about it on social media. He said, and I'm quoting, "Sometimes we see bubbles. Sometimes there is something to do about it. Sometimes the only winning move is not to play." In other words, he is betting that this AI bubble will burst. And he's not the only one. There's a lot of talk about an AI bubble, about how AI stocks are overvalued and how a historic correction is coming. Many compare it to the dot-com bubble. Back then, the internet was the next big thing. It was going to change everything. Billions of dollars were poured into half-baked ideas. Thousands of companies sprouted. Yes, the internet did change a lot, but it did not change everything. The NASDAQ lost nearly 80%, 80% of its value between the years 2000 and 2002. And now many observers fear that this AI bubble could be similar. But here's a twist. Palantir reported 63% revenue growth. Amazon just announced a $38 billion mega AI deal with OpenAI. NVIDIA became the first ever company to hit a $5 trillion valuation. These are real businesses with real profits, which makes the sell-off even more psychological. Because markets were not rejecting AI, markets were rejecting uncertainty. Because look at the gap in these AI companies, their valuation versus the money they make. Those numbers are poles apart. And this raises questions about hype. Plus, there's a lot of money going in a loop. AI companies are busy cracking deals with each other, so billions of dollars are moving in a circle. So what's the takeaway for you? Well, AI is real, spending is real, profits are real, although for now they're concentrated in a few hands. And valuations, they're starting to feel like they had too many Red Bulls. And no, this is not the end of AI mania, but today's stock numbers were also a reminder. Even when the machines promise to think for us, markets still run on human emotion. So the AI revolution is still on, but the blind optimism may be running its course. Before we begin with our next story, let me ask you a question. Where do you think your data lives? All your messages, your videos, your searches, most people think it's somewhere in the cloud. But in reality, It is stored in physical buildings filled with rows and rows of computers. These buildings are called data centers, and they're the heart of our digital world. Every time you ask AI a question or stream a video or send a message, these machines do the work. They store, they process, and they move information across the world. But there's a catch. These facilities consume enormous amounts of power. They need millions of liters of water to stay cool. In 2023, they used up to 1.5% of all global electricity. And the AI boom is making it worse. Training AI systems takes thousands of powerful chips which run non-stop for days. And it will get worse in the years ahead. Look at this estimate from Goldman Sachs. It says power demand from AI data centers will shoot up by 2030. It could rise by 165% in the next 5 years. And where does this power come from? Mostly fossil fuels. So tech companies are scrambling for solutions. Google, Microsoft, Amazon, they're all investing in solar and wind farms to power their networks. Some are even exploring small nuclear reactors. But land is limited, water is running out, and the planet can only give so much. So big tech companies are looking up, quite literally. They're looking into space. Instead of building data centers on Earth, they want to build them above it. Google has a plan. It is called Project Suncatcher. The idea is simple. Send the computers that power AI into orbit. Tiny satellites will carry these computers around the Earth. They'll be connected in a network. They can share data in seconds, and they'll be powered by the sun. At least that's the plan. Because in space, solar panels work all the time. There's no night, no clouds, no weather, just constant sunlight. So that should be enough to run the data centers non-stop. Google is optimistic about the idea. It says solar panels in space can produce more energy, up to 8 times more energy than those on Earth. And that could power a new generation of data centers which would float above our planet. Google plans to launch 2 small test satellites by 2027, the first step towards building a bigger network. And Google is not the only company working on this, on what's called the in-orbit data centers. This market is taking shape. It could be worth $1.77 billion by 2029 and over $39 billion by 2035. Which explains why tech giants are moving fast in this space. Elon Musk is betting on Starlink. He says SpaceX will build data hubs using Starlink technology. Plus, a new generation of startups is in the race, a company called Star Cloud. It is working with NVIDIA to send AI chips into space. Another company is called Lumen Orbit. It is building small computers that can process data directly in orbit. So the promise is huge: clean energy, endless space, and less environmental impact on land and water. But the challenges are just as big. Number one, launching a single rocket releases hundreds of tons of carbon dioxide, so it is an environmental concern. Number two, satellites face extreme radiation and temperature changes, so fixing broken equipment in space will be extremely difficult. And number three, the growing problem of space debris. Every new satellite increases the risk of collisions above the Earth. Despite all of this, the momentum is building. Google has tested its AI chip under radiation, and the chip survived. Besides, they believe that space launches will become cheaper in the future. What costs about $1,500 per kilo today could drop to around $200 by 2035, which could make space computing financially viable, and the Earth a little less burdened. So is this the future of artificial intelligence or just another moonshot? Well, whatever it is, it shows how far we are willing to go to power AI. Our next story is from Iran, which is witnessing mass protests. The trigger was a sudden death. A 27-year-old man died. His name was Omid Sarlak. He was found shot dead in his car. Just 1 day before that, he'd posted a video. He was burning a poster of Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, and he was urging young Iranians to rise against the regime. He posted that video on social media. It went viral, and 1 day later, he was found dead. Authorities say it was suicide, but his family and friends are not convinced. They started a protest. Many others have joined since. On the internet in Iran, Omid's face is everywhere. His video has become a rallying cry for young Iranians. Our next report has more.
A young man is dead in Iran. This is Omid Salak. He was 27 years old. Omid was found dead in a car on the 23rd of October. The vehicle was parked near Takhti Stadium in Ali Gudaz, a small town in Iran's Lorestan province. There was a bullet wound to his head. A gun was found beside him. Police say it was suicide, but many aren't buying that explanation. Because just a day earlier, Omid posted a video online, and that video is now at the center of this story. It shows Omid burning a portrait of Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, and making a direct appeal to Iranians. He wrote, "How long should we endure humiliation, poverty, and being ridden over? This is the moment to show yourself, young people. These clerics are nothing but a stream for Iran's youth to cross." The clip spread quickly on social media, and so did news of his death. The very next day, he was gone. Authorities say there's no foul play, but many Iranians remain unconvinced. They point to the message in his video and the speed with which he was found dead. Omid was buried in Ali Gudaz on the 25th of October. Hundreds of people came to the funeral. It wasn't a quiet burial. Crowds began chanting slogans against the government. They shouted, "Death to Khamenei." Salak's father was filmed at the cemetery. Videos online show his father crying at the grave. Reports say he was heard shouting, and I quote, "They killed my champion." Later that day, Iranian state TV aired a short interview. It featured Omid's father. In the clip, he asked people not to believe the rumors on social media. But critics say the statement appeared scripted and may have been recorded under pressure. Elsewhere in the town, images of Iran's leaders were burned in protest. Just like in Omid's final video, his name has become a symbol online. His image is being widely shared. So far, the authorities have not publicly commented beyond calling it a suicide. There is no official mention of an investigation or autopsy report in the local coverage, but the public anger is real and growing. This isn't the first time a protester or activist has died under mysterious circumstances in Iran. Iran has a long record of disputed deaths. Many have involved government critics and protesters when activists are found dead. Authorities call it suicide, but families often disagree. In many cases, the cause of death remains unclear, and questions go unanswered. In Iran, burning the supreme leader's image is not just protest, it's a punishable offense. Insulting the supreme leader is a criminal charge. It can lead to long prison terms and harsh sentences. But this time, the story was captured in the victim's own words.
Delhi is not in a relationship with clean air. It's in a situationship. It's complicated, it's toxic, and everyone knows it's bad, but the city just can't seem to leave. Every year, like clockwork, the same routine plays out. The air gets chillier and a touch more poisonous. The city slips on a vintage sepia Instagram filter. There's no sunshine, a mysterious grey haze settles in, WhatsApp forwards turn into AQI leaderboards, coughing becomes a competitive sport. And forget gold. Air purifiers are the new gifting category. Thankfully, we live in the age of quick commerce. At least you can have fresh air in 10 minutes or less. Schools are shut, flights are diverted, doctors advise people to leave the city. Hundreds of families become clean air refugees. They move to the hills or to beach towns, all in an attempt to breathe easier. There's political outrage. Politicians bicker amongst themselves. Citizens say they are done. And just like that, the weather changes, the air cleans up, and the city moves on. Until next year, when the headlines scream about AQI again. Now, we all know what creates this crisis. It's a mix of many factors. Vehicular emissions, stubble burning in neighboring states, firecrackers during festivals, construction dust, industrial fumes, low wind speeds, trapping pollutants, and geography plays the villain too. You see, Delhi sits in a bowl-shaped Indo-Gangetic plain. This is a natural pollution trap. Winters create a temperature inversion. Warm air above, cold air below, that locks toxins near the ground. It's the perfect storm, and one that returns every year. But what is the city doing about it? Every year we play the same game. Committees meet, towers are installed, anti-smog guns are rolled out. Crackdown orders are issued, and yet nothing truly changes. Reactive policy has become a ritual. No matter who is in power, politicians point fingers at each other. There's absolutely no accountability. Because amnesia is a Delhi speciality. Do you know what it costs us? In 2023, 1 in 7 deaths in Delhi was linked to air pollution. 1 in 7 people. Around 17,000 people died due to bad air. And children suffer more. They breathe more per body weight. Their lungs absorb more poison. So there are rising cases of asthma, eye irritation, strain on the heart, and long-term neurological impacts. Also, air pollution is not just dirty air, it's economic loss. Billions are lost every year in healthcare and lost productivity. The United Nations calls clean air a universal human right. Yet in Delhi, clean air feels like membership to a club, accessible through money, geography, or luck. And it's not like there's no solution. Other cities have done it. Beijing has done it. So has Cairo. Even Indian cities outside the Indo-Gangetic belt have seen gains, but never Delhi. We wait for some divine intervention every year, for the wind, for the rain, for the universe to deliver what policy never does. Because let's be honest, we've stopped expecting solutions, because this is the biggest political whodunit of our times. Delhi blames other states, politicians blame other politicians, farmers blame policy, and everyone blames the weather, as if nature is running some secret anti-Delhi campaign. Press conferences are held, reports are published with very serious cover pages. News channels run the same graphics since 2017, and then breaking news, nothing changes. Meanwhile, thousands of people die, children breathe poison, and families pack up for cleaner air like they're escaping a war zone. But why fix anything? Why build real policy when you can just build new excuses? Why take responsibility? Delhi does not have a pollution problem. Delhi has an accountability problem. The only thing that has changed are the WhatsApp forwards. They're more creative thanks to ChatGPT. Maybe the air is not the only thing that's toxic here. Maybe it's us and our leadership. And until someone remembers this and actually acts when the sky is blue, not just when it turns gray, we will keep suffocating. So expect another such report next year. And do not worry, the excuses will be fresh, even if the air is not. Staying with India, there's a new election trend in our country promising cash to voters, specifically women voters. We are not talking about buying votes, we are talking about cash transfers, basically direct welfare payments to women. They've become a feature of Indian politics. A lot of states have their own version of it. Karnataka has Griha Lakshmi, West Bengal has Lakshmir Bhandar, Madhya Pradesh has Ladli Behna Yojana, and Telangana has Mahalakshmi. All of these schemes function in a similar fashion. Say you're a woman from an economically weaker section, then the government will directly transfer cash to you. The amount varies from state to state, but it's usually under 10,000 rupees. And like I said, it is rampant. 1/5 of all Indian women get direct cash transfers. But what explains this strategy, and does it even work? Well, women are emerging as a very powerful vote bank in India. And the numbers are proof. In the 1960s, we had a voter sex ratio of 715, basically 715 women voters for every 1,000 male voters. By the 2000s, that number went to 883 women for every 1,000 men. Today, women voters outnumber men in 14 Indian states. In last year's election, women turnout was higher than men's. So like I said, women are now a serious vote bank, hence the clamor to appease and woo them. But not all states can bankroll this. Let me show you a report. 3 years ago, only 2 Indian states gave cash transfers to women. Now, around 12 states do it. They're spending some 1.7 lakh crore rupees on these payments, which is around 19 billion US dollars. That's around 0.5% of India's total GDP. That's how much states are spending on cash transfers. 0.5% of our GDP. But the story does not end there. Half of those 12 states run a deficit, meaning they are spending more than they earn. Basically, they're taking loans to fund these payments. Now, this report has put the focus on cash transfers. Is this the way forward, and do they actually work? For starters, it's always better to spend based on your means. A Maharashtra or a Tamil Nadu can afford cash transfers. Both of them are economic powerhouses. But a poorer state, it must be absolutely sure of success. If not, it could be fiscal irresponsibility. And there's enough data to take that decision on whether it's working or not. Cash transfers got a boost during the pandemic. 186 countries increased such payments in 2020 and 2021. And yes, they are proven to work. Studies show that cash transfers improve women's labor participation. They give women control over their resources, and they also give them a stronger role at home. Basically, women become the decision makers. And you can't argue with the logic here. Women have historically been denied equal opportunities, plus they have a multiplier effect on the economy. You empower a woman, you empower a family. So the logic behind cash transfers is solid. Having said that, there are 2 main concerns. Number 1, what is your motive behind doing it? Is it simply to get votes? Or is it to genuinely empower women? If it's empowerment, then payments alone are not enough. You must have a holistic plan to put more girls in school, to create more jobs for them, and to make their lives safer. If you can do that, then payments make sense. They will basically boost your existing empowerment goals. Secondly, is it truly reaching the right people? Cash transfers are done via your bank accounts. Almost 90% of Indian women have a bank account today. So the payment itself is not a problem. But look at the numbers after that. Only 30% women have a debit card. Only 21% have savings. Less than 19% use digital payments, and 17.5% have dormant accounts. Again, do you see the problem here? It's not enough to give money to women. They must have control over that money. If the payments are withdrawn and handed over to men, there's no point. If the accounts are handled by men, again, no point. So government should think long and hard about these transfers. Yes, they're important, but they should be part of a strategy, not the entire strategy. If not, we may enter an endless cycle of reckless spending. More cash transfers, more debt, and no empowerment. Our next story is from Venezuela, where tensions with the United States are rising. American warships and fighter jets are in action. They've struck Venezuelan boats. Washington says it is targeting narco-terrorists, but Caracas has called it a show of force. President Donald Trump has also authorized CIA operations inside Venezuela. President Nicolas Maduro says it's an attempt to topple his government. Amid these growing threats, Caracas has found a new way to defend itself. Not with weapons or warships, but with an app. It is called the Ven app. It asks Venezuelans to report what they see and hear. The government says it's about keeping the country safe. Critics say it could turn neighbors into informants. The app was first built to fix water and power problems, but now it's being used for security and surveillance. Here's a report.
In Venezuela, people are being reportedly asked to listen closely, to watch, and to report what they see. A mobile app is at the center of it. It's called Ven app. It has been created by the government of President Nicolas Maduro. It began as a public service app in 2022, meant to fix power cuts, water shortages, and local issues. Now it's being turned into something else entirely. Reports suggest it allows citizens to flag suspicious activity and send it straight to the authorities. The government says it's about strengthening popular intelligence and defending peace. Human rights groups first raised alarms about this app in 2024. This was after President Maduro urged citizens to use Ven app to report opposition activity following the disputed elections. Amnesty International warned the app could restrict freedom of expression and peaceful assembly. It also noted that the app might contribute to unlawful arrests. Those concerns are now brewing again. Online activists have reportedly called the app a tool of social surveillance. Apple and Google have reportedly already removed Ven app from their stores after privacy concerns first surfaced, but those who had it before can still use it. Authorities have even allegedly sponsored a mobile version that runs in browsers, and the timing is no coincidence. Venezuela is facing one of its most fraught moments with the United States in years. Relations have significantly nosedived in recent months. Washington has accused Maduro of links to narco-trafficking. President Donald Trump has also authorized covert CIA operations in Venezuela. At the same time, the U.S. military has also deployed warships, fighter jets, and thousands of troops to the Caribbean region. The Pentagon says the mission targets drug trafficking networks. It has struck several suspected drug boats in the Caribbean and Eastern Pacific region. But regional governments and the United Nations have questioned those operations. Washington is yet to provide evidence for its claims. Caracas views the buildup as a direct threat to its sovereignty. Maduro has accused the United States of trying to overthrow his government. Amid that pressure, he reportedly invited the armed forces last month to develop an app that would let citizens report everything they hear. According to reports, the update was ready within a week. The app reportedly will connect directly with Venezuela's national defense system. Supporters call it a step towards protecting the homeland. Critics see it as surveillance. What's clear is that Ven app is now at the center of Venezuela's response to foreign pressure.
Is college really necessary? One company says no. I'm talking about Palantir. You may have heard about it. It is a data analytics company. It specializes in software platforms for data. Palantir is a major defense contractor for the US and other intelligence agencies. It is one of the most overvalued AI stocks, and it has now introduced a radical program, the Meritocracy Fellowship. It was introduced by Palantir CEO Alex Karp. He thinks American universities are not good enough, that they no longer train students well, so Palantir is taking things in its own hands. Any high school graduate can apply for this fellowship. 22 of them will be selected. Once they are chosen, they will join for a 4-month-long program. The first few weeks will be seminars. Each week will have a different theme. Themes will go from history to politics. They will then join live projects. They will travel across the country. They will work with Palantir's many teams. The company has not said that all 22 of them will get job offers finally, but if someone does well, Palantir will hire them. They don't need a college degree. They can just start working from the next day. And this is not the only company doing this. A lot of tech companies have similar projects. Many roles in Google do not require degrees. IBM runs apprenticeship and training programs. Elon Musk once said, college is for fun, not learning. Netflix focuses on problem-solving skills and cultural fit. Penguin Random House also offers non-degree-based career opportunities. And the philosophy here is not anti-education. It's a simple premise, really. If you can do the job, who cares where you learned it? Now we get why this trend feels seductive. Tuition costs sound like military budgets these days. Students may be fluent in theory, but they often lack in everyday skills. Employers keep asking about real-world experience. In the field of technology, it's even more crucial. AI is evolving weekly. Startups are sprouting in garages. You can technically learn coding on YouTube. So for many, life is moving fast, but college is slow. That does not mean that college is a dinosaur, though, at least not yet. It still matters for a variety of fields like medicine, law, engineering, academia, any field that requires years of training. Plus, college quietly gives you a lot. It gives you lifelong networks, friends, mentors, even annoying WhatsApp alumni groups. It allows you to learn soft skills, aka how to deal with people who aren't you. It is meant to nurture critical thinking. I know it doesn't happen often, but it's still something that college allows. It's also a structured time to grow. Earning money right out of high school sounds great. But is it really a necessity for everyone? Also, data has not changed as quickly as discourse. College graduates still earn 25 to 90% more over a lifetime. They face lower unemployment. They have stronger social mobility. So is college necessary? The honest answer is it depends on who you are, on what you want, and how you learn. Yes, the Palantirs of the world will want to disrupt tradition. Yes, the internet can teach you things a textbook never will. But let's not pretend that every 18-year-old is ready to choose between Shakespeare, machine learning, or a paycheck. For some, college is a launch pad. For others, it's a layover. And for a few, it might actually be a detour. We are entering a world where there is no one path to success. There are many roads, many experiments, and a lot of noise. If you're confused, that is okay. So is everyone else, including those tech billionaires. Just remember this. A degree does not guarantee brilliance, and skipping college does not guarantee genius. The future belongs to those who can learn constantly, whether that's inside a classroom or inside a conference room in a Silicon Valley office. Our next story takes you to Japan, a country that usually makes headlines for technology and culture, but it's now making headlines for something terrifying, not a typhoon or an earthquake, but wild bears. They're roaming the streets of Japanese towns, they're breaking into people's homes, and they're attacking people in broad daylight. Since April this year, at least 12 people have been killed. That's the highest number of bear-related deaths Japan has ever seen. The situation has become so serious that Japan has now deployed its military. Soldiers are now patrolling with shields and bear spray. They're trying to restore calm in towns gripped by fear. So how did one of the world's safest countries end up at war with wild animals? Here's a report.
Japan is facing a new kind of emergency, not an earthquake, not a typhoon, but bears. They are entering homes. They are attacking shoppers. Since April, more than 100 people have been attacked. 12 people have been killed. That is the highest death toll ever recorded by the Japanese authorities. 2/3 of those deaths are in Akita and Iwate prefectures. Now soldiers are on the move. Troops have been deployed to the mountain town of Kazuno. They came in army trucks. They wore helmets, shields, and body armor. They carried sticks and bear spray, but not guns. Officials say the troops will not use firearms to kill the animals. Their mission is to set and transport traps and assist local hunters. The threat is growing fast. Akita's governor says bear sightings have jumped 6-fold this year. The prefecture has declared the situation truly dire. Local authorities say they cannot cope. Japan's population is aging. Its hunters are too few. And farmland once separating towns from forests now lies abandoned.
There are a lot of bears in this area, and so the awareness of bears is very high. Regrettably, however, we have seen around 7 casualties this year. No matter how careful people are, with the bear population this high, the number of incidents is not decreasing.
Experts say a poor acorn harvest is driving bears into towns. Climate shifts have reduced their food supply in the mountains. Warmer winters are disrupting hibernation. And rural depopulation is erasing the boundary between people and bears. The result? Hungry, disoriented animals moving through neighborhoods. The new Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi has made this a national priority. Her cabinet is drafting a policy package. Plans include recruiting more licensed hunters and allowing them to respond faster in urban areas. The government says Japan cannot afford to delay bear countermeasures. In recent weeks, bears have stormed a supermarket and injured 2 men. They attacked a tourist waiting at a bus stop near a UNESCO World Heritage Site. A worker at a hot spring resort was mauled to death, and schools have shut after bears were seen wandering near playgrounds. Japanese black bears can weigh up to 130 kilograms. Brown bears on Hokkaido reach 400 kilograms. They can outrun a human easily. Besides, it is not the first time Japan has deployed troops for wildlife control. The military once provided aerial surveillance for deer hunts a decade ago. They also helped cull sea lions in the 1960s to protect fisheries. For now, soldiers will stay in Akita through November. They will help contain Japan's worst wave of bear attacks in history. And if this winter fails to stop them, next year could be far worse.
Zohran Mamdani's victory has pushed people onto the internet. A lot of his critics are worried about the same thing, the Sharia law. They fear that Mamdani will impose Islamic law on New York. So what did they do? They went online to read up about Sharia law. Just one problem though. Instead of Sharia law, most people search for Shakira law. We are not making this up. Go to Google, search for Shakira law. Google will automatically divert you to Sharia law. Take a look at this. Now it's time for Vantage shots, images that tell the story. CCTV footage shows the moment of a cargo plane crash that killed 7 in Kentucky. The largest supermoon of 2025 rises over the Bondi Beach in Australia, and crowds marvel at King Tutankhamun's treasures in Egypt's Grand Museum. Finally, we're taking you back in history. On this day in 1940, Franklin D. Roosevelt was elected for an unprecedented 3rd term as U.S. president. He's the only U.S. president to serve more than 2 terms. In fact, Roosevelt ended up serving for 4 terms. His unprecedented tenure led to the ratification of the 22nd Amendment, which capped presidential terms at 2. We're leaving you on that. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.